We are live. Good day, everyone watching. Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday, May 31st. I want to welcome you on board. Glad to have you joining in. And the video chat that we're going to do today is something that I do every week, every Friday. We go live at 5 here on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. I'm also streaming through the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page, as well as my own personal Facebook page as well. So wherever you happen to be tuning in from, welcome to the chat. And the way these work is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour, answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to fitness and nutrition, health and wellness, any specific challenges when it comes to your workouts, your eating plan, building muscle, losing fat, any of those type of topics of discussion that you would like to have addressed. Feel free to type them into our question window. So if you're watching on YouTube, there should be a live stream, live chat there to the side. If you're tuning in through Facebook, there'll be the comments below the video. But either one, you can type in your questions and topics of discussion, and I'll do the best I can to help you out over the course of our video chat today. But first off, I'm just curious to see who is tuning in. Who's tuning in? So as you're popping on to our live stream, I know we got some people popping on there now, more and more people popping on as I'm going here. So as you're tuning in right now, let me know where you're tuning in from. Where in the world are you tuning in from? Always nice to see new people joining in on the video chat. It's always nice to see the regulars coming back again. So we've got Robert joining in. Robert's a regular. Good afternoon, Roberts. We have the man from Earth. Obviously, I know where he's from. He's from Earth. Good stuff. Glad to have you joining in. I'll address your question shortly. I just want to get everybody welcomed into the chat here now, get things started off before we actually jump into your Q&A. We have Bruce is joining in from Jasper, Alberta. Good stuff. Glad to have you joining in, Bruce. Who else? We have the man from Earth is from Egypt. Okay. Gotcha. Welcome. Glad to have you joining in. That would be an interesting place to visit. I would love to visit Egypt, right? Well, I've never been to that part of the world, but I bet it would be interesting. Who else is tuning in? Let's see. We have Brian joining in from Charlotte, North Carolina. Welcome, Brian. Glad to have you joining in as well. Who else is popping on? Where else are you from? Let's see. Gene is saying, are you still in Newfoundland? Yes, I am. I am in Newfoundland, Canada, East Coast, the most eastern point of North America. Right? You'll have to Google search it because I find whenever I travel anywhere outside of Canada and people ask where you're from, and if I say I'm from Newfoundland, it's always like, where's that? Because it's not a very common place, if you will. It's not a very popular place, right? So not anymore. It used to be popular back in the day because where Newfoundland is the most eastern point of North America. At one time, it was like a major hub for air travel and sea travel between North America and Europe. But nowadays, it's not so much. Like Newfoundland in Gander, for example, had the largest international airport back in the day because all the planes would stop in Newfoundland and fuel up before they would travel across to Europe. But nowadays, with larger planes and fuel capacities and everything else, that's no longer required. So Newfoundland kind of gets passed over very often. But it is a beautiful spot, and it's where I call home. We have Matthew joining in from Wales. Welcome, Matthew. Glad to have you joining into our video chat today. And if you're brand new to these video chats, I want to welcome you. Again, it's always nice to have new people joining in, and always nice to have our regulars joining in as well. Gene's from Ontario, Woodville, Ontario. Glad to have you joining in. Good stuff. All right. So we do have some questions coming through. And again, anything that you want to discuss related to fitness and nutrition, workouts, supplementation, building muscle, losing fat, those type of things, feel free to type those questions and topics into our chat, and I'll do the best I can to answer them. And while you're typing in your questions, I know some people are already ahead of the game, got their questions typed in, but while you're gathering thoughts and typing in your question, I want to address a couple that came through earlier today because on my Facebook stories, I posted, I said, hey, ask me a question for tonight's video chat. And a couple people did that. So one that I want to address right off the bat, this is from Andrew. Andrew sent me this question. He's a regular to our chats. He's over in the UK. And he says, I'm really struggling to make gains. He says, at the moment, I'm doing an upper lower body split, 2 hour upper body workout, then a 2 hour lower body workout, take the day off and repeat. So day on, day off, or sorry, 2 days on, 1 day off, alternating upper and lower. And he's saying, I'm thinking of scaling back to a 3-day full body workout because I'm always drained and I'm so burnt out. Feels like I can't make any gains no matter what I do. Would you suggest doing 3 days of full body workouts? And that is a great question. And it's one that I think a lot of people, once you get to the point where you're consistent with your workouts and you're passionate about your workouts, and going to the gym is something that you look forward to, that you put a lot of effort into, you run the risk of overtraining. Now, for a lot of people, especially guys who are middle-aged, working professionals, family man, you got a lot of things on your plate. Simply finding time to get to the gym is the hard part. Like most people I talk to, they're not risking overtraining. They're seriously undertrained because they're not doing anything. They're on and off again with their workouts. It's like, oh, I tried to get to the gym this week, but I'm too busy. I didn't. Insert excuse of the day, and I'll try to get back on track on Monday. I'll start again next week. But right now I'm too busy. That's the common scenario that I hear more often than not. But once you're over that, hump, and you're actually committed to going to the gym, and this is now part of your lifestyle, and you're serious about it, you enjoy it, you look forward to those workouts, now you actually run the risk of doing too much. And this is a common scenario that I see over and over again. And one of the biggest challenges that I have when I'm coaching people is to hold back the reins, like hold back there, tiger. You just need to do enough to get the job done. You don't need to overkill. And a lot of people go overkill with their workouts, overkill with their nutrition, thinking that more is better, right? If 3 days of workouts a week are good, well, then maybe 4 days is better, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, heck, twice a day, right? More is better. Same with the nutrition. They think, well, if a slight calorie deficit is good for fat loss, then a massive calorie deficit is going to be way better. So I'm going to just go dive head first into the deep end before I can swim and try and figure it out. And that's usually not the smart way to go about it. We just need to do better than you were before. We just need to do enough to get the job done. And an analogy that I like to use is, imagine you're going out hunting. If we have any hunters here, they can relate. Imagine you're going out, whether you like to go hunting with a rifle or you go hunting with a bow. You just need to get the job done, right? You just need to get the kill shot and done. You don't need to go in there with the RPG rocket launcher and blow your deer or whatever it is that you're hunting to smithereens. That's overkill, right? You just need to get the job done. You need to do enough to get the job done. Anything more than that is overkill. And the same when it comes to your workouts, right? You just need to go in there and stimulate the muscles. You don't need to annihilate them. So 2-hour workouts, doing 2 days on, 1 day off. It's overkill in Andrew's case, because he's feeling it. He's feeling drained. He's feeling tired. He's feeling exhausted, and he's not recovering. He's not making gains. So scaling back the volume, scaling back the frequency, I think that would be a great start. First off, I don't think you need to do 2-hour long workouts. 2 hours of actual weight training is a lot. Personally, my workouts, I do about an hour of weight training. Now, it may vary. Some days it's shorter. If I'm pressed for time, I'll do a short workout. Some days it might be a little longer, but it's in that hour range. That's kind of like my sweet spot. If I go beyond that, it's kind of, it's pointless. It's overkill beyond that. The actual gym time is usually about an hour and a half, because by the time I get into the gym, get everything together, I do a cardio warm up, and then I get into my warm up routine. I do some mobility exercises. Then I do about 60 minutes maximum of strength training, and then I'll do some post-workout stretching and mobility exercises afterwards. But the actual workout itself is 60 minutes or less. That's enough to get the job done. And I'm doing a total body workout. That's what I usually do. So I would recommend scaling back the volume of the workouts themselves, and then also try scaling back the frequency, because I fell into that trap when I was younger, thinking that more is better. And then when you're young, and you have all the time in the world, you don't have any responsibilities, you don't have any family, you don't have any children, it's just you taking care of yourself. It's easy to let those workouts grow in volume, grow in frequency, and you're living in the gym, right? I see that a lot. A lot of guys just love hanging out in the gym. And I mean, there's worse habits to have. You could be hanging out at the pub, which is not a good habit, because I'd much rather see someone hang out at the gym, but you could be more efficient, right? You don't need to be in there spending endless time in the gym. You just need to do enough to get the job done. And I found from personal experience, I made my best gains in terms of size and strength when I was doing every other day. So I'd work out one day, take the next day off. Work out one day, take the next day off. And having a full day of rest and recovery in between each workout made a massive difference. It allowed me to approach each workout feeling rested and recovered and strong and energized, so that I could actually push myself and make gains when I went to the gym, versus always feeling like I'm dragging my heels and I'm running on empty. Like I'm never feeling fully recovered, fully topped up. I'm always feeling like I'm drained. That's the way it was when I was trying to do either 2 days on, 3 days on, or however many days. Like if I was doing more than one day in a row, I was feeling drained. And I found that when I scaled it back to every other day or every second day, however you want to call it, I made way better gains. And that's where I made my best progress, is every other day or 3 days a week. So that's what I would recommend in Andrew's case. Scale it back. As far as the upper body, lower body split versus a total body, that's nitpicky. Both work. Like if you like total body workouts, then hey, by all means, do a total body workout. If you enjoy the upper lower body split, then that's fine as well. How you pair up your body parts is like, you can argue it 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's not that there's one perfect program. It's what's ideal for you, your situation, your training goals, and your lifestyle. Like if someone is not as consistent with the gym and they find it difficult to make time to go, total body workouts are ideal, because even if you only got to the gym once this week, well, at least you still hit all your major muscle groups, right? So you covered all bases. Whereas if you're doing a body part split, maybe like a push-pull legs, or even breaking it down to chest day, back day, leg day, shoulder day, arm day, whatever, if you only got to the gym once, you hit one muscle group and you neglected everything else. So the body part split is not ideal for people who are not consistent with the gym. And if you know in advance that consistency is an issue, you're better off doing total body workouts. So then at least every time you do go to the gym, you got all your bases covered. That's the way I am. I prefer total body workouts. Now, in my case, I'm usually pretty consistent with 2 to 3 weight training workouts a week. I can bank on those. I'm guaranteed to get in 2 weight training workouts, and more often than not, it's 3. That's usually the way I do it. But I like the total body workout routine because, one, it allows me to hit all my major muscle groups frequently. And I find that I don't get painfully sore or aggravate my joints, tendons, and ligaments, because I do a little bit of stimulation, then let it rest, recover, and grow. A little bit of stimulation, rest, recover, and grow. So, for example, if you go in there and you do chest day and you annihilate your chest with 20 plus sets for chest, the shoulders and the elbows and all the joints, tendons, and ligaments involved with those pressing movements, that can become inflamed and aggravated, and then you're in pain for days afterwards. Whereas if I just go in and do a single exercise for chest, I don't feel that that repetitive movement strain on the joints, tendons, and ligaments. So it's a little bit of stimulation, but then I can rest, recover, and grow, and then hit it again in a couple days' time with another exercise. And that's how I do my total body workouts, by the way. I don't do the same routine every single time. I'll do a total body workout, but I'll change the movement pattern or the exercise each time. So, for example, one day my main chest exercise could be bench press. And the next day my main chest exercise might be dips. Next day might be a dumbbell incline press or something else. Like I'll change it up. So I'll do different movement patterns over the course of the week. So I'm getting a lot of training variety, but I'm spacing it out. So I only get a little bit of muscle stimulation, like enough to get the job done, stimulate the muscle, then let it rest, recover, grow, stimulate it, let it rest, recover, grow, and keep repeating that process frequently. And I do that with total body workouts. That's what works best for me. That's what I've been doing for the past 5 years, and I really enjoy it. I mean, I would recommend give it a try. I mean, especially in Andrew's case, like if what you're currently doing is not working and you're aware that it's not working, then don't just keep beating your head against the wall hoping that someday it's going to work, right? No, if you know that it's not working, change your direction and go try another approach, right? Change it. And the main thing is you want to allow your body to rest, recover, and grow between those workouts. So the first step, cut back to working out every other day. Scale back the volume a bit. No need to be doing 2-hour marathon workouts. An hour of weight training is plenty, especially as you're going through this deload phase where you're purposely trying to let your body rest and recover. And then if you want to try a different training split, maybe a total body, that's fine as well. But bottom line, you need to start taking a different approach than what you're doing now, because you're just burning the candle at both ends and you're not allowing yourself to rest, recover, and grow. The key thing that I want to drive home here, and this, I'm taking a lot of time to answer this question because it's an important one. You don't build muscle in the gym. Like a lot of people think, oh, I work out every day, and they think that they should get a badge of honor because they're in the gym every day. You don't build muscle in the gym. You're tearing the muscle down in the gym. That's where you're damaging it. That's where you're breaking it down. Going to the gym is catabolic. It's not anabolic. You break your muscle down in the gym. It's when you rest, recover, and grow and follow it up with proper nutrition after the workout is where the actual growth takes place. So if you're shortchanging the rest and the recovery process, you're not maximizing the workout process. So you need to factor in the full picture, right? Stimulate, then rest, recover, and grow. And then once you've done that, then you can go in and stimulate again and repeat that process. Right? A lot of people think that more is better, more workouts, and it's not the case. Right? More workouts is kind of like digging yourself into a rut. Right? You need to factor in the rest and recovery aspect if you want to maximize your progress. And I've done this myself. Like I've tried doing the 6-day-a-week training split, like mimicking the pro bodybuilders that I'd see in the magazines back in the day, thinking, oh, Joe Blow is doing 6 days a week, twice a day split routine and everything else. Well, I'm going to try that. And all I did was burn myself out, right? I just could not stand it, could not handle it, couldn't recover. Once I finally, got coaching and people taught me the importance of what I'm teaching you right now, and I scaled back my workouts to 3 days a week, I instantly started to grow, instantly started to feel better, and I was getting stronger week after week after week and enjoying the process. And that's what we're doing this for. We're not just doing it to clock in time at the gym, right? The more time you clock in at the gym doesn't mean more gains. It's effective. You want to be effective. You want to be efficient. And it's not just punching in hours on the clock, right? You're not getting paid by the hour in the gym. You're getting paid by the effectiveness, meaning paid in terms of the gains you make, right? It's the effectiveness of the workout, not simply the length and the frequency of them. So again, hopefully that helps, Andrew. All right, what else we got there? Another question. This one came through from Kareem, and this is another good question I want to address. He posted this as a reply to my Facebook story that I posted earlier today. He was saying, in the age of social media and lightning fast speed and information overload, he said, what are your tips for filtering out the noise? So referring to fitness noise, because nowadays, if you're following a bunch of fitness influencers online and you're watching YouTube videos and you're Google searching and everything else, you're going to be bombarded with information overload. And it's so confusing because there's so much contradictory opinions. Like I just told you the benefits of doing total body workouts 3 days a week. You go search, and I can guarantee you're going to find someone else who says total body workouts suck. 3 days a week sucks. You should be in there 6 days a week doing a body part split. Like they'll give you the complete opposite argument of what I just did. And we see this with nutrition as well. Like I can go in there and I can search for a vegan YouTube channel or a vegan blogger, and they're going to give me all the benefits of following a plant-based vegan diet. And they're going to say, this is the only way to do it. This is the best, blah, 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 blah. And then you can go in and search for carnivore, and you're going to find someone who's going to give you the complete opposite. They're going to say, hey, if you eat plants, you're going to die, right? Plants are poison. Don't eat plants. Only eat meat. And then the vegans are convinced the opposite. Meat is poison. Meat is toxic. Don't eat meat. Vegans and carnivores, you can't have more opposing opinions or more opposing views on fitness and nutrition. Complete opposite, and both are convinced they're right. And both are convinced if you do the other, you're going to die. Right? So there's so much noise. There's so much contradictory opinions that it can be overwhelming. And I actually feel grateful that I started my fitness journey back before the days of the internet. Like I started back in the late 80s, early 90s. Like that was when I was getting started with this. And there was no internet. So information came at a snail's pace. You got it through books and magazines or VHS tapes, or from actually talking to real human beings in the gym who were doing it in the real world. Like it wasn't this, hey, type in on Google or type in on YouTube and get a million different search results and a million different contradictory opinions. It came at a much slower pace. And I'm so grateful for that, because it allowed you to actually try and implement and utilize something and see how your body responded to it without getting overwhelmed. Now, granted, that doesn't mean all the information was good, but it came at a much slower pace that you could utilize it and absorb it at a slower rate. So you could go through the trial and error process and give it a good, honest effort. Like, you know, for example, when I was learning about workouts and I heard about the 6 days a week, high volume training, I gave that an honest effort. Now, I mean, obviously there was some benefits to it, but it quickly got to the point of overtraining. And then I tried, okay, let's try a different approach. You know, I did a lower volume, less frequent training, and it actually worked well for me. Same with nutrition. Like I've tried different eating plans, but it came at you at a slower pace. So you weren't chasing the red shiny ball where like, okay, today I learned about this new diet plan. I'm going to try that. And then 2 days later, oh, I learned about this one. I'm going to try that. Or I learned about this workout. I'm going to try that. And a couple days later, I learned about another workout and I'm going to try that. And people are just bouncing back and forth with no rhyme or reason. And once you get so confused, and eventually you just throw your hands up in the air and say, screw it, I don't know what to do anymore. I'm not doing anything. That's where a lot of people get into, is the whole information overload, and they're just so overwhelmed that a confused mind says no, right? No, I'm not even going to try anymore. So how do you filter out the noise? One, I would recommend trying to limit the amount of information that you can consume online, because it does get overwhelming. And I do this personally. I try and limit the stuff that I consume. Like a lot of times when I'm having video chats and conversations with people, they'll say, hey, have you heard about this before? Have you heard about this or that guy and what he says? And I say, I don't know. I mean, this is the first I've heard of it, because I'm not out there actively trying to search every single opinion. Like I've found through 30 years of trial and error and studying and working with professionals and getting coaching in the real world, what works for me and my body type. All right. And I stick to those basics. And I find if you really want to cut through the noise, it would be advantageous to find a coach or a mentor or someone who has done what you want to achieve, and get their help, whether it's a friend, someone who you trust and know personally who can help you, whether it's a coach that you hire and follow their guidance, but follow one path of action, one course of action. Don't have too many cooks in the kitchen, because if you have too many cooks in the kitchen, it ruins the stew. Same thing, if you have too many coaches, too many trainers, too many fitness influencers telling you what to do, like, okay, I'm following a nutrition coach who's a vegan, and I'm also following a nutrition coach who's a carnivore, and I'm also following a nutrition coach who's a paleo guy, and another one who's an intermittent fasting guy, and another one who's something else. You have such a muddled mishmash of different opinions that is probably nothing's going to work, because you're just trying to combine it all together, and it doesn't work that way. Same with the workouts. Like if you're trying to follow multiple workout splits combined into one, you can't do it. You have to follow one course of action, right? Give that an honest effort before you go hopping from ship to ship and trying to chase the red shiny ball, right? So having someone who can really clarify things and guide you is going to be the best source of advice and wisdom that I can offer right there when it comes to decluttering the noise, because again, there is so much information. And if you are going to follow somebody, make sure that it's someone you know, like, and trust. Right. And if you are going to follow them, then follow them and give it a good, honest effort and see how your body responds, versus jumping from ship to ship. Right. Like if you're going to try a new workout program, give it a few months, give it an honest effort. Like don't give it 3 or 4 days or a week and then say, oh, that didn't work, and I'm going to try something else. Like I literally see this a lot. Like I've talked to people who've come and asked me questions about diet or fat loss or muscle building or workouts or whatever. And they say, oh, I tried that dieting for a week and it didn't work for me, so I quit. I'm like, what the hell were you expecting in a week? Right? Like you're not going to see any measurable change in the matter of a week. I mean, you need to give it an honest effort. At least give it 3 months, right, to see some sort of change, to give your body time to adapt, to grow, and respond to whatever it is that you're doing. You just can't try something today and expect to look different tomorrow. Because I'll be honest, like if you eat healthy today, you exercise today, you get a good night's sleep, you do everything right today, you're still going to look the same tomorrow. Vice versa. If you have a shitty day, you eat like crap, you stay up late, you get drunk, you whatever, you don't go to the gym, you have a total write-off crap day, you're still going to look the same tomorrow. Like one good day or one bad day isn't going to change how you look in the short term. It's the accumulation of multiple good days or multiple bad days. So look at yourself in the mirror right now, right? If you want to kind of do an evaluation, right? Take off your clothes and stand in a full-length mirror and have a good hard look at yourself and say, okay, am I happy with what I see when I look in the mirror? If you're not, that's a sign that you've probably had more bad days than good, hence the status of your body and your health and your fitness. Vice versa, if you're pleased with your physique and you're proud of how you look and you're proud of your health and fitness and you're feeling good, that's the sign you've had more good days than bad. And that's what it ultimately comes down to, is an accumulation of more good days than bad. Not some magic formula, not some magic macro split or magic set and rep pattern or magic whatever. It's the accumulation of the basics, the fundamentals stacked up day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, compounded over time. And once you do that, and once you kind of get this in place, then you'll be the guy who, like in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road, people will be looking at you and say, like, what the hell are you doing? What are you taking? What supplements are you on? Are you on that TRT? Like, what are you doing? What's the trick? And the trick is, I've been doing this consistently for over a decade. That's the trick, right? It's not some magic pill or formula or whatever. It's consistency with the basics over time. And if you can have someone who can guide you and mentor you through that whole process and to keep you focused on what's most important, without getting distracted by all the noise and clutter and crap that's going to be bombarding you, you'll be much further ahead. And you got to realize all the videos, all the articles and blog posts and stuff, they're trying to stir the pot. They're looking for the click. So they're going to post the most controversial stuff. Like they'll put up information about why you should never do this and why you should never do that, and try and put fear in your mind and get you second guessing and doubting so that you're going to start to follow their information. And there's something else I want to share here before we move on. When we had our last podcast, the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast, myself and Jeff, we were actually talking about this. And he said, I challenge you, Lee. I said, go into Google or go into YouTube and just type in why you should not eat whatever. And type in any food. Why you should not eat meat. Why you should not eat vegetables. Why you should not eat protein. Why you should not eat carbs. Why you should not eat fat. Why you should not, whatever. He said, anything that you type in after why you should not, and you'll get a video with an argument of why you shouldn't do it. Like even applies with liquid. Like you could put in why you should not drink water, and you will literally get articles and videos telling you the dangers of drinking water. Like it's ridiculous. And it's all this fear mongering and trying to get people to second guess themselves. Like even fundamental stuff, like we know we should drink water. With that being said, I'm going to have a sip of water. But if I type in Google, and do it after this video chat, why you should not drink water, and you'll get a whole freaking content of people saying like, oh, all the negatives of drinking water, right? Put in the negatives of eating vegetables. You'll get pages of stuff telling you why you shouldn't eat vegetables, why you shouldn't eat meat, why you shouldn't eat protein, why you shouldn't eat carbs, why you shouldn't eat fat. So like, what are you supposed to do? Just crawl under a rock and do nothing. So bottom line, there's a lot of shit and noise on the internet, and you need to learn how to filter that out and focus on the few key things that are going to work for you in your situation. And I'll finish it off with this. The true wisdom is not accumulation. Like a lot of people they're trying to learn more. I want to learn more workouts, more tactics, more nutrition plans, more. I want to learn more. True wisdom is not accumulation. True wisdom is elimination. It's eliminating all the crap and all the noise that you don't need and just focusing on the few key things that are actually going to make a difference for you in your situation at this stage of the game based on what it is you want to achieve, right? Just what do you need to do next? What are your next action steps? And focus on those action steps, right? Not getting distracted with all the other crap and what someone else is doing and what Joe Blow pro bodybuilder is doing or what so-and-so fitness influencer is saying. Like, what do you need to do? What do you need to do to move forward in your fitness journey? Not getting distracted by whatever other people are doing. And the sooner you can get that, the faster you'll make progress. All right. Now I'm going to jump into some other questions. Let's see. Who else we got here? What other questions we got? We have the man from Earth. May I ask a question? Yes, you may. I was binge eating yesterday. I ate 3 protein bars and 30 dates over my daily intake of 2,000 calories. Is that the weird thing is that today I looked much better in the mirror and saw muscle definition I never saw before. 2,000 calories with proper ratio of carbs and protein should have been sufficient. So I don't understand what is this also happened before. Okay. So multiple questions. Bottom line, I'm going to share what this is. I'm assuming, just based on your question, you said you have a daily intake of 2,000 calories, so you're in a calorie deficit. So you've depleted your glycogen stores, which is advantageous from a fat loss point of view. Like, you want to be in a calorie deficit. You want to actually be doing so in order to tap into burning stored body fat. But what you did when you had your cheat day or binge day or whatever you want to call it, is you refilled your glycogen stores. And once you refill your glycogen stores, it pulls water into the cells and it creates this cell volumization. And this is what bodybuilders purposely do before bodybuilding competitions to look bigger and fuller and more muscular. They will diet and carb deplete before the competition. And then leading up to the competition, they will carb load and purposely eat more to fill out their muscles, fill out their glycogen. And it temporarily makes you look bigger and fuller, and it can actually pull fluid and water into the cells and actually make them appear leaner and more muscular. So what you've experienced is totally normal, but it is a temporary thing, because if you keep eating in that surplus and you keep topping up your glycogen stores, I mean, what happens once your glycogen stores are topped up? You just can't endlessly keep topping them up. It's like if I pour water into a glass. Like once the glass is full, it's full. If I pour more in, then it's going to spill over. And that's exactly what happens if you were to keep eating like this day after day after day. You would spill over and you would start to look softer. And then those extra calories would start to accumulate as body fat. And this is how people gain body fat and become overweight to begin with, is they're eating too much. They're eating more than their body needs. They're eating more than they're burning off. And it spills over. It spills over in extra water retention, spills over in extra body fat, and people become overweight and obese. But there's that sweet spot, that fine line in that middle transition when you're in a deficit, you've already burned a significant amount of body fat so that you have some visible muscle definition to show. Like the skin is thin enough on the surface that you can actually see the muscles underneath. In that state, your muscles are depleted. But once you fill them out and you pull that glycogen and water into the muscle cells again, it's like inflating a balloon. So they temporarily inflate and they look better in the short term. So you're in that short term phase now, where the day after you're like, holy crap, I look amazing. This is awesome, which is cool. Like, yeah, enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with it. But realize that that's a short term thing. You need to get back on track with your planned eating strategies, or else you're going to just start to spill over and gain body fat again. So it's okay to do this from time to time. Like, some people refer to it as having a refeed day. Some people refer to like different carb cycling strategies, like they build it into their program. But in order to burn body fat, you need to be primarily in a deficit so that you are, depleting the glycogen stores. You're actually causing your body to tap into burning the stored body fat for energy. But in doing so, you temporarily look flat and depleted. Right? You're not going to be as full and as strong. So it's always this balancing act. And this is where having a coach who can guide you so that you're in a slight deficit enough to burn body fat and to make progress, but not so much that you're actually losing lean muscle and feeling weak and depleted, right? There's this fine line. And what you accidentally figured out through having your binge eating day is sometimes having strategic refeeds is a way to minimize the muscle loss and to maximize that strength and muscle fullness while you're going through a fat loss phase. So a lot of coaches will actually purposely plan these into a fat loss program once someone is ready for it. Like if you're just getting started and you're like 50 pounds overweight, no, you don't need refeed days yet. But once you've lost a significant amount of fat and you're visibly lean, and now you're at the risk of losing lean muscle tissue, having strategic refeed days like this can actually be advantageous. So you kind of figure that out on your own through trial and error. And I'm sure that's how this all came about, right? Like a lot of this stuff was trial and error, and people, let's repeat what worked, right? And then let's refine it over time. But that's what you did. That's basically a carbing up. That's exactly what you did. What else we got there? Brian's got a question. Says, I'm eager to get this question out. What's more important or more effective for gaining mass, protein or calories? All right. Well, that's kind of a catch-22. All right. I'm going to break this down. The most important thing, like if we were to look at nutrition like a pyramid, all right, like this, we got the base of the pyramid would be your caloric intake. That's the base, because if you're trying to gain mass, you need to be in a calorie surplus. If you're trying to lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit. You can't escape that. Like calories in, calories out. You have to have that as the foundation. That is unavoidable. You need to have that. Like even if you're eating super healthy, super clean, but you're in a calorie deficit, you're not going to get bigger, right? Vice versa, if you're eating super healthy, super clean, and you're in a surplus, you're not going to get leaner. So it depends on whether you're trying to gain weight or lose weight. In your case, you're trying to gain weight, gain mass, so we'll focus on that. So even if you had a high protein diet but you were in a calorie deficit, you're not going to gain mass. You need the calories. That's the base of the pyramid. That's level one. Got to check that off. Once you're meeting your calorie intake need, then you can maximize the effectiveness of those calories with proper macronutrient ratios. So this is where making sure that you're getting adequate protein, making sure you're getting adequate carbohydrates, and getting adequate healthy fats. That's the next level. For mass building, what I would recommend for protein is 1 gram of protein per pound of goal body weight. So whatever you would like to weigh, let's just say you would like to weigh 200 pounds, eat 200 grams of protein a day. That's the simple answer right there. That's what you should strive for. Now, some days it's going to be higher, some days it's going to be lower, but try to be in the ballpark. Try to be in that 200 gram range ballpark more often than not, right? I mean, if you go higher, that's not a big deal. If you have a day where you go a little lower, it's not a big deal. As long as most days you're in that 200 gram range, 200 grams of protein range for a 200 pound goal. So calories is most important, but you still, once you have that in place, then the macronutrients are certainly the next important. Because, I mean, even if you're eating a calorie surplus, but you're eating crap, like you're eating donuts and Pop-Tarts and ice cream, yeah, you'll gain weight all right, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what kind of weight you're going to gain eating donuts and Pop-Tarts and ice cream, right? You want quality nutrition, not just simply caloric intake, right? So both are important, but you're asking what's more? The calories, because you could still have the perfect macro ratio, still be hitting your protein target and all that. But if you're in a deficit, you're not going to gain mass. So they're very close, but calories edges out here by a slight bit. Matthew saying, thank you, bro. You're welcome. All right, another question. This is Matthew. What do you make of well-advertised Shilajit, lion's mane, and ashwagandha? I'm not familiar with Shilajit. I assume I'm pronouncing that right. Lion's mane, the mushroom, I'm familiar with that. I don't use it personally. Ashwagandha, I do supplement with that. I mean, do they help? Yeah, they can probably give you some marginal gains. Try it and see if you enjoy it, if you find it helps. I actually use the ashwagandha because it helps to, it's part of my sleep ritual, if you will. Like, I have a few supplements that I take before bed to help me with relaxation and sleep, and ashwagandha happens to be one of them. It helps with the reducing stress and anxiety, and just helps to promote relaxation. So I use it from that point of view. So I actually take it as part of my sleep stack, if you will. Like, I take magnesium, I take zinc, so I make my own like ZMA type of combo. I take ashwagandha with it, and also take L-theanine, and 5-HTP and melatonin. So it's my little relax, go to sleep combo, if you will. And I find it works well for me. So, I mean, you can certainly try it, but as far as like, is it going to be some earth shattering, supplement? No. You can make great progress with building muscle, losing fat, improving your athletic performance without any of these things. But, they can give you a slight marginal edge in certain areas. So, but that's what I make of them. Let's see what else we got. Sean joining in. What do you know about arm wrestling? What muscles are used? I beat a dude who's 6'3", 250. I'm 5'8", 190, but he wants a rematch. I want to embarrass him again and get better. I'm not a competitive arm wrestler. I mean, I used to screw around with it when I was in high school, like a lot of kids do and stuff like that. But I'm not an arm wrestling specialist, so I'm not even going to pretend to know that. But I will say this: tendon and ligament strength play a huge role, because you could have the muscular strength, but if you don't have the tendon and ligament strength to support it, and the ability to strain, because arm wrestling, it's max effort right from the get-go, and there's a lot of endurance and there's a lot of max effort. Like, there's a combination of being able to strain and maintain that strain for long periods of time and still have that explosive power. So there's a lot to it. And again, I'm not going to pretend to be an arm wrestling specialist, because it's something that I don't focus on. I've never prioritized it or trained for it. But I'm going to tell you this: you go on YouTube and start searching for arm wrestling, and you will get a ton of video content. There's a ton of blog posts. Like, there's a lot of information about arm wrestling. So just do your own due diligence. Now, as far as like, who can I recommend? I really don't know, because it's something that I haven't dove into myself. So I can't recommend like a good arm wrestling coach at this stage of the game. If anybody in the comments, if you got a good arm wrestling coach that you can recommend to Sean, or some good arm wrestling video channels or something to recommend, I'm sure he'd appreciate it. But I bet if you just start even just getting on Dr. Google and typing it in yourself, you would get some good information, at least enough information to get you started in the right direction, covering some fundamentals. Okay. Now, that's what I'd recommend. But I mean, as far as just general muscles being used, I mean, obviously your wrists and your forearms are big ones. But all the muscles of the arms, like the biceps and the triceps, and then of course all the stabilizer and supporting muscles throughout your chest, your shoulders, your lats, your core, like, it all comes into play. Even though it is an arm wrestling match, there's so many other muscles that balance and stabilize and support the arm in the arm wrestle. So there's a lot more to it than just simply training your arms, right? I mean, it's still a total body activity to build the overall strength. But cool for you. I mean, the fact that you beat the bigger guy, I mean, that shows that, one, you probably have better endurance. You probably have better tendon and ligament strength to handle it. Because just because someone's bigger doesn't always mean they're stronger. And we see this especially in strength sports, like sometimes in powerlifting and weightlifting. You see guys who, sure, they probably look fit and athletic, but their strength is just shocking. There's a guy who trains at Omega. I don't know his name. I'll have to introduce myself and chat to him sometime. But I see him sometimes when I'm in there coaching people, and he's a competitive powerlifter. I mean, he's a kind of like the tall, lean, not like taller than me. I mean, I'm 5'6", so anybody who's taller than 5'6", I consider tall. But he's an average height guy, tall for me, and he looks athletic, but he doesn't look super strong. But I mean, watching him train, like, I've seen him like rep out with 500-pound squats, rep out with 600-pound deadlifts, and I'm like, shit, like that's impressive strength. But to look at his physique, he doesn't look as strong as he is. So sometimes you see the same with arm wrestling. Like guys, I mean, yeah, they probably look fit and strong and athletic, but they may not look as strong as they really are. Whereas, if you see someone who's 250 pounds, you assume, well, geez, he must be a beast. Not always, right? Sometimes they are, but not always, right? So strength can be deceiving, right? I'll just say that. All right, let's move on. We have RM. How do you feel about training every single day? I've been doing it for a while, and my secret, if you want to call it that, is listening to my body and letting how I feel dictate what I do for the day. We kind of already covered that in the first question where I was answering Andrew, who was getting burnt out by trying to do too frequent workouts. I'm not a big fan of every single day training, but with that being said, you can do exercise every day. I personally strive to exercise every day, but it's not in the gym pushing heavy weight every day. For me, it's weight training one day and then cardio the next. Weight training one day and cardio the next. And I will adjust the intensity and the workload based on how I'm feeling. So it's kind of similar to what you mentioned there, right? I mean, like if I'm feeling exhausted and tired, or I had a really hard workout or a really hard bike ride or something like that the day before, and I'm not feeling up to pushing myself the next day, then I'll do an easier workout. Like, for example, if I'm due for a cardio session and I'm feeling exhausted, my cardio session might be, I'm just going to go for a walk today. So I'm still reaping the benefits of exercise, but I'm not burning myself out or stressing or overtraining the body. When it comes to the gym workouts, I might be scheduled to have a strength training workout, but if I'm still feeling tired and sore from my previous sessions, I may go in and just do some mobility work, or I might do some isolation work or some exercises that I normally don't focus on in my regular workout. So like instead of doing heavy presses and rows and squats or deadlifts, I might do forearms and calves and abs and different mobility exercises, rotator cuff work and things like that. Maybe, just easier exercises that are still helping me, still, building the body stronger, but not demanding maximum recovery and not stressing my body out and stressing the central nervous system. So, you can make it work. You can train or exercise, however you want to say it, on a regular, frequent basis, as long as you are adjusting what it is you're doing based on how your body is responding. And, I like to do that because I like to keep that habit of regular exercise alive. But I know for some people, having dedicated off days can be advantageous, depending on what it is you're training for. Like if you're trying to maximize pure muscle growth and size and strength, I think having full-on rest days is important to let everything fully rest, recover, and grow. And like I say, that's what I did when I was trying to make my best gains in my early days, like in my late teens, early 20s, when I was really trying to bulk up. Every other day was what worked the best for me. Right? Work out one day, take the next day off. Work out one day, take the next day off. And I made my best size and strength gains going through that phase. But now I'm not pushing heavy weights like I was. I'm not trying to maximize strength and power to the same degree. I'm trying to basically improve my overall health, fitness, mobility, flexibility, and longevity. So it's a different approach, right? So I do train every day or exercise every day, but it's not pushing to failure every day or anything like that, right? There's a lot more gentle exercise involved now. It's the older I get. All right, we have Aaron joining in. Welcome. Glad to have you tuning in. Sean saying, never thought of it like that. Giving you some food for thought. Glad you enjoy it. RM, it's more about keeping the habit in training than what specifically I do. It's some meditative practice. Right? Perfect. I totally get what you're saying. That's another way of explaining what I just tried to explain. Well said. Robert saying, when getting to 3 hard sets, how many light sets should one do not to be a powerlifter? All right, I'm going to break down warm-up sets for you. The number of warm-up sets you do is going to vary depending on the exercise you do, and it's also going to depend on how strong you are. The stronger you are, the more weight you're lifting, the more warm-up sets you're going to need. I'll give you an example. Let's say we have a novice lifter who can bench press 100 pounds. They'll probably do a warm-up set with the empty barbell, 45 pounds. Then they'll probably go 75 pounds and then could jump right to their top working set of 100 pounds. Someone who's an advanced bodybuilder or power lifter who's benching 400 or 500 pounds, they're going to need multiple warm-up sets to build up to that, right? They'll just, the stronger you are, the more weight you're lifting, the more warm-up sets you're going to need, right? So that will vary depending on the individual strength. You need, the higher the peak, the more steps it takes to get up to the peak. But in your situation, for the average gym goer, like this is kind of a general rule of thumb that I use for most people. Start your first warm-up set should be about 50% of your top working weight. So again, if your top working weight's 100 pounds, start with 50 as a warm-up. Then go to 75%, or in this case, 75 pounds, and then jump to your top working weight. That will work for most people for most exercises. That's a good general rule of thumb. Now, as you get further into the workout and you're more warmed up, and especially if it's a small isolation exercise, you might be able to get away with a single warm-up set, just to kind of get into the groove of the exercise and then jump right into your working weight. And of course, it also depends on how heavy that working weight is, right? So there's not a hard set rules of like, thou must do 3 warm-up sets for every exercise or whatever, because some movements you're going to need more, some movements you can get away with less. But bottom line, you should always prioritize the warm-up. You should always do some sort of warm-up before just jumping into a heavy set, right? Like that's stupid to think that I'm just going to go in and slap on my top working weight and just do it with no warm-up. That's an injury waiting to happen. And I remember seeing that so often. I remember like back in the day, going into the gym. One guy in particular, I had to come to his rescue. He walked in off the street, still had his coat on, walked over to the bench press, unzipped his coat, threw his coat on the bench next to him, put 2 plates aside on the bench, got down, unracked the weight, stapled to the bench, right? And he's just yelling out, "Help, help." So I came over and basically deadlifted the barbell off his chest, and like just pure idiotic stupidity. Like there was no warm up. Like his warm up was unzipping his coat and then plopping his ass on the bench, trying for a new 1 rep max. So anyway, don't do that. That's an example of what not to do. All right. Anyway, moving on. Let's see what else we got there. GS93 says, Lee, I was lifting weight for 5 years and made great gains. However, ever since COVID happened, I kind of fell off the wagon. I'm planning on getting back on the grind. Will I regain my gains faster? Possibly. I mean, it all depends on the situation and everything else. But generally speaking, if you had a foundation at one point, I mean, 5 years is, like I said, you made great gains. It's probably not going to take you 5 years to get back to where you were, right? You'll probably be able to bounce back to that same level of strength within a year of consistent training again. You can regain lost muscle and strength quicker the second time around because it's the concept of muscle memory. That is an actual concept. It's easier to regain lost size and strength or to regain lost fitness than it is to gain it initially. So this is something you need to realize, because this is confusing, especially when you're looking at some of these before and after transformations. Like you see someone who made an amazing 12-week transformation and you're like, whoa, I want to do what they're doing. If they were in shape at one time before and then they fell off the wagon and got out of shape and then got back into shape again, they're going to get in shape way faster than someone who's starting off from scratch. Like sometimes you'll see advanced bodybuilders or advanced athletes who let themselves go and then they got back in shape again and they make this incredible 12-week transformation, right? The internet's full of them, plaster, before and after pictures. But you got to realize who's that person, what's their past training situation. Is it truly a 12-week transformation, or is that, a 12-year transformation and they're just showing the final 12 weeks of it right here? Right. That's what could very often happen. And this is something that I'm fully transparent with. Like, even when you look at my before and after transformations, they're not true before and after transformations because I've been doing this for 30 years. So I've got that foundation that even if I let myself go, I can get back in shape a lot quicker than someone who's starting off today is day one from scratch. And this applies right across the board. So yeah, you will regain fitness and strength and muscle way faster the second time around, or however many times around, as long as you had that foundation to build off, right? That is a real thing. Let's see what else we got. Mike's joining in. Hi, Lee. Gym, 100%. Diet, not so good. You're in good company. There's a lot of guys who fall into that category where they enjoy the gym, but diet is nah. And I'm going to tell you, if you can optimize your diet, your gym will truly be 100%. Because quite honestly, your gym workouts are not 100% if your diet is not so good. Like, imagine you have a high-performance sports car, but you're putting in cheap, watered-down gas in it. Are you getting 100% performance out of that high-performance sports car? Nope. Not if you're putting in watered-down, low-octane fuel. But if you put in high-performance race fuel into a high-performance sports car, now you're going to get 100% out of that car. Right? Same with your body. If you're putting in shit, you know, not literally, I hope nobody's literally eating shit, but you know what I mean. You're putting in junk food and you're not meeting your protein and macronutrient needs, and you're just filling up on pizza and Pop-Tarts and soda pop and whatever else, burgers and fries, and a healthy diet is eating until I'm no longer hungry. That's how you gauge if you're well fed or not. You're not 100% with the workouts. It may feel like you're 100%, but once you start fueling your body properly and you're actually nourishing it on the cellular level, then you'll truly know what your body is capable of, because you'll have the fuel that it needs to optimize and to function at 100%. But yeah, you definitely need to maximize that for sure. But the main thing is you're focusing on the gym. And, you know, I personally think, you know, a lot of people say what's more important, diet or exercise? If you're going to focus on one, focus on the exercise, because once you have the habit of exercise in place, that will give you motivation to want to follow it up with better nutrition, versus the other way around where, oh, I'm just going to start eating better and hopefully that'll motivate me to work out. It rarely works that way. But I've seen the opposite, where you're focusing on the exercise, maximizing what you can with that. Now, to take your exercise to the next level, you're going to need to fuel it properly. Right? Again, using the sports car analogy, like if you're driving an old clunker, you probably don't care what grade of gasoline you put in it or what kind of oil you put in. It's like, as long as the thing works and gets me back and forth to work, I don't care. But if you invest in a high, a high performance sports car, now all of a sudden I want to put in high octane fuel. I want to put in, you know, top quality oil and products and good tires, and like all of a sudden now you're concerned about all that other stuff, whereas if you're just driving an old clunker, you don't care. Same applies with your body. Once you start training it and treating it like a high performance machine, then you're going to want to put high performance fuel in it to get the most out of it. So if anybody asks me like what's more important, diet or exercise, I always say the exercise. Get that done first, and then that'll give you the motivation to follow it up with better eating habits. Let's see what else we got there. Joe is saying, I've been sticking with my routine for about 5 months now. I feel amazing and making great muscle growth. Good for you. Appreciate it. Thanks for sharing. That's what it's all about. And that's not that long. Like 5 months in the greater scheme of things, like that's nothing. Right? You've been working out for this year, 2024, and you're feeling good. So keep that momentum going forward. Like, imagine where you're going to be in 5 years from now or in 10 years from now. Like, that's when it really starts to compound. Like, you're feeling good now after 5 months. Imagine after 5 years or 10 years. That's when it becomes to the point where, like, holy smokes, what the heck is Joe doing? Right? Joe's looking jacked. Right? Well, what are you doing? What are you taking? Like, no, he's been sticking to a routine. He's been good enough consistently and doing it day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out. That's when it starts to compound, right? Long-term consistency trumps short-term intensity. We got Donnie joining in, says, I recently got a TAD board with training to make it fun. I'm trying different workouts, trying the level 1 basic workout from Arnold's Encyclopedia. What's your thought on the book? Well, it's been about 30 years since I've looked through Arnold's Encyclopedia. I remember going through that back when I was in high school. We used to get it from the library, and I'd go through it back then. So I would have to brush up on what Arnold's level 1 workout is in his encyclopedia, because my memory doesn't go back 30 years to remember exactly what that is. But I mean, I remember that book had a major impact on me back in the day, because like I mentioned earlier when we were starting this chat, like some of the questions, like how do you eliminate the noise? There wasn't a lot of information back then. So that was one of my sources of information, Arnold's Encyclopedia. Like I remember reading that thing, going through it, and even just looking at the pictures, that's what stands out the most in my mind. Like, holy crap, like looking at the pictures of all the pro bodybuilders back in the pumping iron days, right? That had a big impact on me. Like, man, I want to look like that. But one thing I will say about Arnold's whole philosophy of workouts and training methods is he's more of the overkill approach, high volume. Like you turn on, like watch any video about Arnold talking about working out. He's like, I work out for 4 or 5 hours a day, right? You don't need to sleep faster, work out more, right? Like, it sounds cool, but you got to be practical and realistic, right? You can't work out 4 or 5 hours a day and most people make gains like that, right? You need to balance it out. So I'm not a fan of that type of approach. I would look at your own individual work capacity, your own individual recovery, and go by that. But I mean, I love Arnold. I'm a big Arnold fan. I mean, he's been a huge inspiration for me. But some of the stuff that he talks about when it comes to weight training is, it's kind of over the top, especially the whole work out 4 or 5 hours a day, right? And then do work out 4 or 5 hours a day, twice a day. Yeah, right. Well, he had one video. It was a motivational video. He's saying, he worked out 4 to 5 hours a day, and then he did acting classes, and then he did real estate, and then he did construction, and then he did all, like he's trying to say like he did all that in a 24-hour day. Like, no, you didn't, dude. Like you just listed off like 50 hours of activities that you crammed into a 24-hour day. Like, no doubt he did all those things over his life, but he didn't do them all in the same freaking day. Like when he was bodybuilding, okay, yeah, maybe you could work out 4 or 5 hours a day, but that was your focus. Then when he got into acting, okay, maybe you did acting classes for multiple hours a day, but that was your focus. And then when he was in real estate, he was, spending hours at that, but that was your focus. Like, it's not like I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do it all in the same day. And I'm only going to sleep for 20 minutes a day so I can get it all done. Like, it doesn't work that way, right? You can do different things, but you can't do it all together, right? Prioritize one thing at a time. Anyway, I don't know if that was the answer you're looking for, but I'd have to refresh my memory on the exact workout that you're referring to. But that's my philosophy on it, or that's my opinion on Arnold's philosophy of training. He tends to over exaggerate, right? You don't need to overkill. You just need to do enough to get the job done, right? Stimulate, not annihilate. Mike is saying, some people talk about anti-nutrients in plants, not aware that your body adapts. You build bacteria to break down the phytates and etc. Thoughts. You're right on that. Now, one thing I will say, like some people do have allergies or reactions to certain foods, and they may not tolerate certain foods as well as others. But I'm a big believer in, if you introduce foods early on and you build up your body's natural adaptogens to them, you can eliminate a lot of the nutritional issues that we have. Like I remember when our son Harvey was born and we were taking him to the doctors, all the early checkups and stuff that they do, babies and vaccines and all that kind of stuff early on. One of the things the doctor told us is just as soon as he starts eating real food, like introduce him to a wide variety of food, like introduce him to peanuts, introduce him to fish, introduce him to eggs, introduce him to dairy, like get all these foods in him, obviously in age appropriate amounts and everything else, but get that stuff in him so that his body can start to adapt to it. And like he has no nutritional deficiencies or intolerances, I should say. Like he can eat peanut butter, right? And he can eat fish, he can eat eggs, he can eat dairy, like a lot of the common allergen foods that people can't eat. If you build up to it, then you're going to be able to handle those foods quite well. Now, of course, as your body ages, sometimes it develops intolerances, and I'd say the root cause of a lot of that is probably poor diet and lifestyle choices compounded over time. But I think if you're eating those natural, healthy foods on a regular basis, your body will adapt to it. And there's more benefits than there are negatives to eating those healthy, natural foods. Right? Like I know, like I mentioned earlier, like you can type into Google why you should not eat vegetables, and you'll get articles telling, oh, don't eat vegetables because blah, 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 blah. But then vice versa, you could type in the opposite. Why should you eat vegetables? And you'll also get the whole contradictory articles saying, hey, this is why you should eat your vegetables. And I'm of the common sense approach, like vegetables, protein, natural unprocessed foods, drinking adequate water, getting exercise, getting sunlight, fresh air, good quality sleep, like all the common sense stuff that most people should do and should know. I'm a big believer in that. And the people who try and say that you shouldn't do that, like, hey, you shouldn't drink water because, or you shouldn't get out in the sunlight because, or you shouldn't eat vegetables because, or man, like, come on, let's focus on getting back to the fundamentals and letting your body adapt, and I think you'll be much better off because of it. But yeah, I eat a ton of vegetables. I eat more vegetables now than I ever have in my life. Like I personally eat vegetables with every single meal, and I'm at the stage now where if I don't eat my vegetables, I crave vegetables. Like I literally do. If I don't have like my big garden salad every day and I don't have vegetables with my meals, I miss it. I miss it. I mean, that stuff, it makes me feel full. It makes me feel nourished, satiated. It keeps me regular. Like I don't have any issues with going to the toilet and staying regular. Like that's like clockwork, and I feel good, right? I get in the plumbing is clean. I feel healthy. I feel energetic. Like everything's working like it's supposed to. And if I don't have that, I miss it. I really do. All right, what else we got? I'm going to get ready to clue it up because we were already past the hour mark. I always promise an hour and exceed. I over deliver or I over gab. your choice on what you want to categorize that, right? Is either he over talks or he over delivers. JE saying, I seen your incline close grip bench video. Would you say it's too similar doing overhead presses in the same workout? You could try it if you want, but personally, if I'm going to do an incline bench press, I'm probably not going to do a shoulder press in the same workout, right? Because it is very similar. Like the incline bench press is going to be very similar to an overhead shoulder press, right? You're heavily working those. At the stage I'm at now, I wouldn't do both of those exercises in the same workout. I'd do one or the other. And if you wanted to train chest and shoulders, personally, how I would go about it, I would, like, let's say I'm going to do the incline bench press, then I'd probably do some isolation work for the shoulders, lateral raises, rear delt work, shrugs, stuff along those lines. If I'm going to do overhead shoulder presses, I'm probably going to do some isolation work for the chest, flies, pec deck, cable crossovers, pullovers, something along those lines. So I try not to overlap similar movement patterns within the same workout. I mean, I'll still do shoulder presses. I'll still do incline bench presses and all the different moves, but I'll do them on different days so that I'm not compromising one movement for the other. Because obviously, if you do your incline bench press and then you do your overhead shoulder press right after, you're not going to be as strong with the overhead shoulder press because you just pre-fatigued yourself with a similar movement with the incline bench press, right? Same with, like, I won't do squats and then do leg presses in the same workout because there's an overlap. I'll do squats and I'll do leg presses, but I'll do them on different days, right? So that's just my opinion. Now, again, you listen to someone else and they'll give you an argument to say why you should, right? So, yeah, that's just my personal opinion. But, if you could try both and see what works best for you, right? Joe's got a question here saying, do certain mirrors make you look different than others and lighting? I see a lot of muscle in some mirrors and lighting, and I feel good, but in other mirrors and lighting, I don't look as muscular. Yes, that is totally true. Not so much the mirror, even though that could be a case, depending on, like, some mirrors are darker than others, which may make you look more muscular versus one that's really light, but it's usually the lighting. If you have good overhead lighting, you're going to look, it's going to highlight the shadows in the right way and make you look more muscular. And that's why on bodybuilding stages and physique stages and with photo shoots and everything else, they make sure they get the lighting just right. And then not only do you get the lighting just right, but you got to have a good tan to make sure that you can highlight the proper lighting and not appear washed out. Because, for example, like on a bodybuilding stage, when they put on the bright stage lights, if you go out there with your normal skin tone, you're just going to look white as a sheet. There's not going to be any muscle definition or detail. It's just going to be washed out white. You're not going to see anything. Even black people need to tan in order to look good under bright bodybuilding stage lights. Like, I remember one of the local shows we had a while back, one of the competitors, he was a black guy, in amazing shape, right? I mean, one of the most muscular guys in the competition. And he was getting ready backstage, and I was saying, hey, you might want to put on some tan. Like, this is back when we used to tan ourselves. We didn't have the tanning spray booth set up like a lot of shows do nowadays. We used to paint on our own Pro Tan or Dream Tan or whatever it was. But this particular guy, like, I was tanning up backstage, putting on my tan, getting ready. And I said, like, do you want to put on something? Like, it'll make you look a lot better on stage. And he said, no, I don't need that stuff. I'm dark enough. He got out on stage, and he was the whitest guy on stage. Right? White guys who had tanned looked darker than the black guy who didn't tan. So he appeared white and washed out on stage and didn't place as well because the color makes a huge difference. So that's another factor that will make you look better. If you have a nice tan, you will look more muscular than if you don't. So that's why bodybuilders and fitness models, they always tan. And not just base tan with natural sunlight or tanning beds, but they usually use the artificial paint on tans as well to get that deep, dark look. But it's a combination of the overhead light and the skin tone, and of course your body position. Like, you could hit a pose and look really good, and then you change your body position and you might look terrible, or vice versa, right? So there's so many variables, and this is where people like physique competitors and bodybuilders and stuff, they need to practice their posing, and they need to know what positions highlight their strengths and hide their weaknesses. And that's a whole art in and of itself. And that takes a lot of practice and coaching and guidance. And this is something that I used to spend a lot of time with, especially back when I was competing in bodybuilding. I used to coach a lot of up and coming bodybuilders, and I would spend hours just drilling in posing with people to help them master body position, knowing where to set up with the lights. And like, you can even play around with it. Like, normally the stage setup, they'll have it like marked out on the stage, like where they want you to stand for the best lighting. But when you're in the gym practicing, like, you'd look up at the light and you'd just figure out, okay, how far ahead and how far back do I have to be? Where am I going to get that ideal range where, boom, I get the right shadows, the right highlights to make me look my best? And it's going to certainly vary depending on the situation. So you're absolutely right with that. All right, I'm going to get ready to clue this up soon because I do have to clue it up. My wife has dinner on, and I don't want to be late for that. Khalid saying, glad to see you, coach. My question is, women and men, are they the same when it comes to protein, 1 gram per pound of body weight, or can women take less? I would still keep it the same, 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. Put that keyword in there, ideal body weight. So whatever it is you want to weigh, shoot for that as your target. And I would put the same for men and women. I know technically women usually have a little less muscle mass and a little more body fat, but it depends on the woman. I mean, there's some women out there who are a hell of a lot leaner and more muscular than guys, but just keep it simple. You don't need to overthink this. Like, if you go a little above that, it's not going to hurt. Like, that would be the minimum target. Like, there's no harm in going higher in protein. I mean, obviously you don't want to go too high because it's just extra calories that your body doesn't need. Like if you need 200 grams of protein as your daily target, that's your goal body weight and that's what you're shooting for, then eating 300 grams isn't going to help. That's overkill, right? That's just excess calories in the form of protein. Now, with that being said, excess calories in the form of protein isn't going to hurt when it comes to body fat gain as much, because protein is the most thermogenic macronutrient, meaning that your body burns a lot of calories just processing and digesting protein, a lot more than it does processing and digesting carbs, and a lot more than processing and digesting fat. But still, excess protein calories is still excess calories. So, if your main goal is fat loss, you could still get fat if you eat too much protein. It's harder to do, but it's still possible. So 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight is a good benchmark for most people, right? Like, I've tried going through phases where I ate way more than that, and I didn't see any benefit from it, right? There was no benefit other than more protein farts. that ain't a benefit. Like, I remember back in the day, like, there was some of the hardcore fitness gurus were saying, oh, you eat 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. And I was over 200 pounds at the time. So I was slamming back 400 grams of protein every day, minimum. Like, that was my benchmark. And I honestly, I didn't see any benefit in terms of muscle gains. I mean, it was just farting and burping and a lot more because I was eating that much protein, but I didn't help my gains any. No more than consuming 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So, like I say, there's a reason why that general rule of thumb has stood the test of time, is because it's a good guideline that works. Right? All right, let's see what else we got there. So, Man from Earth says, thank you very much. You're welcome. Thanks for the response. You're welcome. Cream says it's 2 a.m. and he's wide awake. Well, go to sleep. Kareem's part of our Muscle After 40 coaching program, and this is one of the challenges that we're working on him, is trying to help him improve his sleep habits. Now, I respect you for joining in the video chat and everything else and trying to educate yourself, but this isn't helping with your sleep schedule, right? You probably could catch the replays afterwards, right, and get a good night's sleep. It's the same content afterwards. I know it's not the same experience. Like, there's something special about joining into a live stream versus watching the replay. Like, I noticed this myself. Like, when I'm working with my coach, and hey, even though I've been doing this for over 30 years, I still have a coach that I work with. And I sometimes he does like group coaching calls or things like that. And then, of course, they post up the replays afterwards. I'd much rather join it live, and I find I'm more engaged and pay more attention when I tune in live versus listening to the replay afterwards. But still, it's the same content regardless. But I respect you for showing up, Kareem, but go to bed. It's getting late. All right, guys. I know there's still a bunch more coming through here, but I'm going to clue it up. Again, RM saying, thanks for response. Yeah, I always like your podcast. Technically, this isn't a podcast. This is my live stream video Q&A, but I do want to, that actually is a good segue, if you will. We do have a new Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast. Myself and my co-host, Jeff Samatero, who's one of my top coaching students, who is now working with me, helping out behind the scenes with the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program. And every Tuesday, we do a Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast. Now, I say every Tuesday. We've got 4 episodes done so far, right? 3 of them are online now. The 4th one will be launched now this coming Tuesday. And so far, the feedback's been excellent, right? So we really dive in deep into fundamentals of fitness and nutrition and mindset and lifestyle strategies on how you can get in your best shape, build muscle, lose fat, and be able to do the things you want to do without your body holding you back while enjoying the process and making it a lifestyle and not just some short-term suffer it out type of approach, which is the way most people treat fitness. Like, most people treat fitness as some grueling, oh, I got to go on a diet. Oh, I got to go to the gym and suffer it out. We want to transition it and make it an enjoyable part of your lifestyle, something that you do because you enjoy it and it makes you feel good. And it allows you to live life to the fullest without your body holding you back from doing the things you want to do. So that's coming out every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. New podcast comes out. It's on YouTube. So YouTube podcast. So if you just go to my Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, up in the top menu bar now, there's a podcast tab. Shows all our past podcasts. It's also available on Apple iTunes, as well as Spotify. So whatever podcast platform you listen to, those are the main ones, right? You got YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Whichever one you prefer, you can go and download the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast. And I would appreciate it if you could leave a review and feedback. I mean, that helps to get the word out. And if you do have any suggestions for things that you would like to see in future episodes, please let us know. Like, we're open to suggestions and feedback. Now, we're kind of laying the foundation with our first few episodes, but as we get deeper into this stuff, like, we can dive in deep into like some specific training and nutrition strategies, you know, for maximizing muscle growth, or specific strategies for targeting stubborn body parts or achieving specific fitness goals, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, right? We can dive in deeper. Maybe there's some certain mental blocks or nutrition challenges that you have to deal with. Like, feel free to let me know. Like, either drop me a private message on Facebook or drop me an email. Contact information is down below in the description of this video. If you have any feedback or suggestions for future podcast episodes, let me know. We're certainly open to it. And if you haven't already done so, go check out the previous episodes, right? We got 3 episodes online right now, and the feedback thus far has been really positive. So thanks for the support, and thanks for those of you who've already tuned in and shared your feedback. And hopefully we can reach a lot more people that way as well. And with that being said, I'm going to clue this up. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the questions. I certainly enjoy doing these. I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. And hopefully you got some value from it as well. And again, heads up, Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, the next episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast is coming out. And I'm going to keep doing these live stream Q&As every Friday, going live at 5. So twice a week, you get some ongoing content coming from the Total Fitness Bodybuilding channel. All right, guys, have yourself a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to chatting to you on the next one. Take care. Over and out.